forget about those particular words. This is what Wilde was referring to when he wrote in The Critic as Artist, 1891, "We teach people how to remember, we never teach them how to grow." We may not be able to teach people how to grow, but in order to grow there are things you need to be able to forget. It is, of course, Wilde's point that socialism interferes with sociability, and that, by implication, we can use commitment, conviction, strong belief, and, Wilde will assert, morals and purposes, to narrow our minds and stunt our growth, as though there is always a temptation or a desire to forget the multifariousness of our pleasures, to simplify and sanitize our hedonism in the service of traditional safeties, the forgetting of pleasures being one form that the renunciation of pleasure can take, the one formalized by psychoanalysis, as though we are always laying down the law for ourselves, and the law forces our attention, tells us what we should and shouldn't be looking at, who we should and shouldn't be listening to. We are taught to remember everything except our pleasures, Wilde implied. And this is where art comes in. All art is immoral, Wilde said, and so it is in art that we recover our real pleasures. We recover everything morality forces us to renounce. What Wilde called recognizing no position as final means not taking the forbidders too seriously, that is, not taking them on their own terms. Significant changes in manners and morals, periods of significant change in personal and cultural history, always involved the redescription of previously forbidden desires. One way or another, the forbidden becomes the less forbidden or even the unforbidden, and so provides a different kind of pleasure. We are released into enjoying previously forbidden things in different ways, released into what Kathleen Stewart calls, in Ordinary Effects, a new tangle of potential connections. And some forbidden pleasures remain just that, forbidden, because our lives would be intolerable otherwise. But we should, Wilde suggested, seek out the immoral in order to see what we think and feel about it. And this is where art comes in. We need to be able to think and talk about where our real enjoyment is and why it might be where it is. We need to find out whether we can replace what we should enjoy with what we do enjoy. Wilde wondered why we were so impressed by, so serious about, forbidden pleasures. Why, that is to say, we might want to be intimidated by morality and tantalized by pleasure, and to so relish suffering the consequences of our renunciations. If we could believe, if we could live as if, as he put it, aesthetics are higher than ethics, even a colour sense is more important in the development of the individual than a sense of right and wrong, he believed our lives would be better. We might, for example, be able to enjoy living in a world of unpredictable consequences, or of what Bernard Williams calls moral luck, if we preferred aesthetics to ethics. Ethics is prophetic, Wilde implied, in a way that aesthetics need not be. It is prescriptive. It aspires to determine causes and consequences. It attempts to predict the future. By telling us what our lives should be like, morality often claims to be telling us what our lives are really like, even though we are often left feeling that we are failing to live our lives as they really are. What would our lives be like, Wilde's heroes want us to imagine, if we found the forbidden a little less forbidding? If we use the idea of forbidden pleasure to think with rather than to stop ourselves thinking or talking? Perhaps the whole idea of forbidden pleasure brings out the worst in us. What could our lives be like if we took seriously what Walter Pater, Wilde's erstwhile aesthetic hero, wrote in his 1866 essay on Coleridge? Hard and abstract moralities are yielding to a more exact estimate of the subtlety and complexity of our life. The implication being that the subtlety and complexity of our modern lives are not suited to hard and abstract moralities. What became known as the aesthetic movement in England in the later 19th century, broadly speaking the work of Pater and Wilde,